Hey guys, in this episode we're making a weight rack. You know, for the weights. So today we're going to be building a weight rack for my concrete weights that I made. These concrete weights are great because they're made out of concrete and they're heavy. You couldn't tell, I've been getting in pretty good shape because of them. I made a video not too long ago on how to make these, so if you're interested on how to make your own concrete weight, I'm going to put the video in the description down below. Make sure you guys check it out. But that's not what we're focused on today. So for this project I'm going to upcycle some 2x4s. These are actually just pallet wood stives. Stives are the middle section or least desirable portion of the pallet. A lot of the times there'll be some big oval cuts in here, and that's for the forklift to actually get underneath the pallet. But this one was just made out of 2x4. But since these things are pretty beat up, I'm going to end up running it through the planer and jointer to make sure that these are all square. Then I'm going to start putting this thing together. So now that our wood's ready, we got to get our measurements. This is a rough setup of what I want my weights to look like. So our main board running up the center is going to start from the base, and then it's got to go past at least the top ring of the top weight. And the reason it's got to go at least above here is because we need to put cross pieces in, and that's what we're actually going to put the weights on. So you're going to want to take a measurement from the bottom to at least a couple inches above the ring on your top weight. I'm actually going to do mine above the weight. That way I'll have a little platform up on top that if I wanted to, I could put smaller weights on top. So in my case, I'm going to end up measuring from the bottom to over the top of the top weight. And if we line up our board here, this almost doesn't need to get cut. This is almost right where I want it. But I am going to trim this down a little bit, so we're just going to take a measurement from our base here and then up on top. For my weights, 40 inches is going to be perfect. So what we're going to end up doing is actually cutting 2 of these to 40 inches. I know more material, but just one 2x4 probably isn't going to be strong enough to hold all these weights. And also, while we got the chop saw running, we're going to go ahead and cut out our base plates too. I'm going to have them right about 2 feet. And again, 2 of those. So we got all our pieces cut out, but I also went ahead and cut a couple squares like this out. These will sit on the bottom, middle, and top of our main center beam. These weights are really heavy, so we want to make this thing really strong. And adding those to the middle is going to make it a lot stronger. So I'm going to mark out where we want these and glue them up. So I got my pieces laid out where I want them, so now we're just going to glue them up real quick. And just to make sure that's where they stay, I'm going to make sure that they are lined up right. And now I don't have to worry about them moving around. Now that we got our block set, we're just going to put our top piece on, make sure that we glue it up good. Since we got a pretty good bow in here, we need some clamps. And here we go, as we let this glue dry, we're going to grab a beer, and as you can see, this is going to be super solid, really strong. It's going to be good. Alright, looks like we're all dry. Let's get this thing going. So now that we got our center beam finally done, I'm actually just going to do a quick layout and make sure that everything is all lined up. This is about how I want my weights to be set up. Not too close so that they're bumping into each other, but close enough so that it saves a lot on space. I'm really liking it right here, so all I'm going to do is actually go inside the weight, make a little mark so I know exactly where to drill the hole for the dowels. And now we're all done with these. Oh man. Why did I make these so heavy? Alright, so as you can probably see, my circles aren't exactly in the center of this beam. You want to make sure that it's centered, otherwise this thing might tip over. So we got our handy square here. We're just going to measure our board and find out where the center is. This is 3 1/4, so half of that. Whew, oh boy, 3 1/4, 1 1/2 plus 1 5/8 is my center. So here's my center. You can see my circle is off a little bit, but this is what we're aiming for. So now we're going to start the holes for the dowel. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a dowel. Make sure it's nice and thick because you're going to be putting weights on it. You want it to be pretty strong. This dowel is 1 3/8, so we went ahead and got a bit that's the same size. So we got our holes drilled. Now it's just time to connect the base. Now there's 2 ways we could put this on. We could put the base on this way or this way. So since the weights are going to be on this front here, we're worried about it tipping forward. To stop that, we're going to have the base sit on this way. And all that I'm going to do for the base is put on some wood glue. And I should probably make sure that's in the middle. Good thing I checked, because it wasn't. So we'll just be lining this up correctly with our middle mark and fastening it in with, I moved it, try that again, and fasten that in with the nail gun. That ain't going anywhere. So I was playing around with the base a little bit, and although it is super solid to the front and back, it's a little wobbly side to side. Now, even with this weight rack fully loaded with weights, it shouldn't produce any force that would actually make it tip to the side. But I didn't want to take the chance of somebody bumping into it and knocking it over. So you can see that I grabbed 2 more 3 1/2 inch chunks and just quickly gluing them onto the side. That way this weight rack isn't going to tip over to the front or the side. So now that we got all this put together, it's time for my favorite part. Just kidding, it's the worst. We gotta sand this whole thing. So we got our stand completely finished and all sanded. The last thing we gotta do is add our dowel into the holes that we made. So I got a 40-inch dowel here. I'm just gonna split it down the middle, and there'll be plenty of room for my weights on the lower and upper rack. And now that we got everything pieced together, we're gonna go ahead and stain this thing. I'm using a special walnut stain. This is one of my favorite colors. It's a darker type of stain, but it still shows the grain of the wood. And as you can see here, I'm using a sponge brush. This is my favorite way to put on stain, especially when you got a lot of crevices like I do here. Now that we got this all stained, we're gonna let it dry and then come back and put a couple layers of polyurethane on it. Okay guys, so we are all finished with our custom weight rack. I have about 3 layers of poly on this thing. You really want to make sure that you put it on strong on the dowel areas because of course this is the area that's going to get roughed up the most. I think this project turned out really cool. It was simple to make and even with this thing just loaded with weights, I mean it's holding up super strong and it's not tippy at all thanks to those extra balance points I put on the side. Now, I know I mentioned I wanted this top piece above these weights, and that's for a reason. If you really wanted to, you can put another dowel right on top here that goes straight up for your smaller 10 and 5 pound weights. But I got a better use for it. Perfect. So alright guys, I'm going to finish my workout. You have a good one, and I'll see you on the next project.